if we look at it from this perspective, that the intention, there was an intention by the Nazi regime, and we can find it already in the first political writing of Hitler from 1919, where he speaks about the danger of the Jews in all fields of modern society, right? That is the penetration of this idea of Jewish equality. You find it also in Mein Kampf, you find it in a lot of documentation. And so when he uses the term Marxism, he actually means human equality, and that's a Jewish idea, and that has to be erased versus the hierarchy of nature, the racial hierarchy of nature.
Florence Rush in 1971, she was a good friend of mine. In 1971, she provided a groundbreaking expose on Freud that revealed that although he initially believed his women patients were suffering from sexual abuse, his persistent exposure to the incrimination of the fathers of his clients left him on edge. I want to say that one more time. He believed the women who sat on his couch. And what left him on edge in terms of really acknowledging it was the persistent incrimination of their fathers.
Was an incredibly influenced by Jamal Abdel Nasser, who wanted to create a Pan-Arab world, and he wanted to be the leader. So what he did, what most Muslim leaders do is you have to find a scapegoat, and that was the Jews. So I remember as a child going to the movie and see the
newsreels. The younger people may not know what that is, but before the feature film, there would be newsreels from around the world, black and white, grainy.
And we, the Jews, will sit there petrified, and first they will show the king, and nobody cared, the king will come there, and then they will show Nasser. And his word always ended up and started with the word the Zionist enemy. And we could see all these Arab, the boys, because girls didn't go, just stand up like with this hatred, with this thing, and the brainwashing started.
This guy, give him some credit, he even manages to invent a new one.
Climate change policy in the Obama administration is controlled by Carol Browner, Rothschild Zionist, and Todd Steen, Rothschild Zionist.
He's blaming us for the weather. This is a very British anti-Semite. And speaking of Britain, then he brings the learned elders of Zion back to Blighty.
So many Rothschild Zionists end up in government here, like the possible leader of the Labour Party, David Miliband, Foreign Secretary before the election, Ed Miliband, Head of Climate Change and Environment, Peter Mandelson, Rothschild Zionist. Note the hands.
And then he starts using incriminating quotes from Jews, which is a trick that bigots often do to disguise their own racism.
Jewish people make up less than 2% of the American population, but account for 50%, I would say Rothschild Zionists, 50% of the political campaign contributions. The Jews, Rothschild Zionists, I would say again, the Jews do control the American media. Rothschild Zionists control the media in Hollywood. Don't take my word for it. Los Angeles Times columnist Joel Steen, Rothschild Zionist, wrote an article proclaiming that Americans who don't think Jews, I would say Rothschild Zionists, control Hollywood, are just plain dumb.
So that's a version of protocol number 14 that you saw before, Jewish Hollywood. And you can have a look at that image in close-up, and you can see the Star of David's on the Hollywood sign. And the red carpet that the actors are stood on is blood, and inside the blood will look like the child victims of a Holocaust. This is real extremism, and don't think that this stuff doesn't have consequences.